Hello, everybody. This is going to be a different type of vlog. I'm still not feeling great, but a lot better than I was. I'm actually going to flip this around and show you guys all the snow because it is absolutely gorgeous. I may even step outside the door just so you guys can see a little bit of the winter wonderland here on Friday. I believe it is January 19th. I may be correct. Let me quick. Yeah, the 19th. Had to flip the phone there to see what the date is. Normally, I'd be going to a hyperbaric chamber appointment here at 8 o'clock in the morning. But with this snow, they have, you have to have by law two nurses that know how to operate the system. Because if, God forbid, something would happen to the person while I'm in there and they didn't have a second person, I may explode. So I'm told. But in reality, basically, if they don't bring you out correctly, bring the pressure down, your lungs can collapse. You can have burst eardrums, burst a lot of things. And I don't want to implode or burst because that told is not fun. So, anyways, so this video is going to be several fold. One, it's going to be just letting you guys know what's going on because it's been almost 3 weeks since I put a video up. Two is going to be the short-term goals and plans of the channel. And then third, we're going to start talking about long-term, what the plans are for this year, events, things of that nature that are coming up. There's a lot to be discussed. There's a lot to be figured out yet, but we are going to do that. But first of all, we're going to flip this bad boy around, and we're going to show you the winter wonderland. I'm going to be a little adventurous and step out here into the winter wonderland. You can even say hi to Chuck. Chuck is covered in snow. It is just beautiful out here today. I always love this fresh snow. It's a light snow. It's not one of these heavy, wet snows. I am most likely planning on doing nothing today because I'm not worried about my capabilities of driving. I'm worried about the other people's capabilities of driving. It always sort of freaks me out. But anyways, let's go back inside. It's cold. Ugh, don't like the chili stuff there. Ugh. But anyways, it is really pretty just sitting out here on the porch. I always love when you see the snow sort of lays on everything and just really nice. But so I have been off because there's all these cold flus going around. I think there's several variances. There's a stomach bug. There's the nasal thing or sinus thing. Then the lung thing. And then also, of course, a couple variances of COVID. So pretty much everybody's sick right now. And I think because I was doped up on that many antibiotics, I was on the IV for quite a while. They took that out last week. And now I'm just on two orals. Antibiotics, probably for another 2 months or so. And anyways, I finally felt something. I was around New Year's. Some of the people I was around, I think they had colds, and then at work, some people had colds as well, and I was just sort of bound at some point to get it. Now I got the sinus variety. Thankfully, it didn't go to the lungs. Normally, in past, I've been having issues with stuff going and becoming bronchitis right away. So, still a little stuffed. They have me on a cough medicine right now. Sort of knocks me for a loop because it's don't make decisions, don't drive, don't rename yourself, don't try to have children when using this medicine. So, you sort of stay away from any life-altering decisions or doing anything that you could be impaired with that stuff. But it does help. But I still have a little bit of something going on. But that's part of the major reason. Like last week, I took off completely. Hyperbaric chamber doesn't work well when somebody's sick. This week we missed 2 days because of the snow. Tuesday we got, I think, like 3 or 4 inches. We'll probably get maybe 2 or 3 out of this. They're talking about there's a possibility that somewhere in this band is this puking snow that you could get several inches an hour or something like that. I don't know if we're gonna get that or not, but it's pretty. But it does make the road sort of nasty, and I don't really want to go out in this stuff right now, so I'm not. And fortunately, I'm lucky enough that I don't have to right now. So, but that has been sort of the short term of what's happening. Why we haven't done anything for a couple weeks, just because I haven't been feeling well. Feeling a lot better. It does take about, once you're quote unquote over it, it still takes about a week to 10 days to start feeling somewhat normal. And I'm just starting the last couple days to feel a little bit more like myself, because with the hyperbaric treatments, I was starting to really feel a lot better. Next week, we're going to do the skin graft. Hopefully, within another 2 or 3 weeks, maybe where the left foot is quote unquote healed, closed up, then we can move on to the right foot and do what needs to be done there, because that thing's a booger and doesn't want to heal. It's not aggressive, at least. It doesn't get infected. Knock on phone. So that one we can take our time with a little bit more. We'll do the first surgery if it's continuing to not heal completely and stay healed, where we take the back off of the big toe bone, because it's fused now just from everything. And hopefully that takes the pressure off of the back of the bone, or off that wounded basin area, because the back of the bone is sort of pointing in a direction it's not supposed to. And that sort of is what's creating this problem, where it creates the pressure on that wound basin. So hopefully that does a job. If not, we'll wind up going to other transmetatarsal surgery with that, which means I'll have no more toes, but it won't be as extreme as the left foot. I just don't know how that's going to affect long term my walking. I'll be able to, but it probably will never be without a cane. Just certain things like that. And I know a lot of people say, "Oh, this stuff seems extreme." It's like that. It's not extreme, because this is something that I've been going through for 4 years, and every single time I get infected, uh, whether it's something that's been remaining in my system, which it seems like now we finally got it out of my system for the first time in like 2 years, which is why it's come back so regularly. Because your body can only basically handle, an antibiotic only works for so long, and then it just, your body or the virus, whatever's in you, that infection acclimates itself to that antibiotic, and it just doesn't work anymore. And plus, with my body's immunity have been so destroyed, antibiotics in tandem with my immunity just weren't enough. That's why we're doing a hyperbaric chamber, which seems to be really working. We still got, it's a little under half. I think it's like 12 uh, that we got yet, that we got to do. They call them dives. You dive in the tube. It's a blast. 2 hours. But it's definitely doing its job. It's definitely working. So we're heading in the right direction. We're heading to the point where we can actually have healing. And the reason for these surgeries, if they're necessary, even though they seem maybe a little extreme, it takes that, in essence, the area where the tissue has been infected at some point and has been weakened, you're removing that area. And hopefully you're getting it back to the area where it's all healthy tissue. So, in a stronger area, so therefore it shouldn't break down again. And that's sort of what we're going for. That's the whole reason, too, I talked about if the left leg, if the foot would break down, we go up to the knee. It, once again, sounds extreme, and is, but the reason for that is you're getting rid of whatever diseased or infected tissue has been there. You're taking it to a spot where it's strong, it's closer to the heart, and ultimately long-term mobility. I don't think that's going to need to happen. I'm hoping not, but I've also got to be very careful, and I've got to regulate sort of what I do from this point forward, work-wise and everything, because it's just, I have to accept that I'm handicapped in some form, and that I can't do certain things. I can't push myself too far. And it's just a matter of figuring out what that is, what I can do, what I can't do, and go from there. But that's what everything that's been going on, what's going to be happening in the next couple weeks, and go from there. So that's where we're at. That's why we're at this point, coming up here to the 19th of January. I'm doing well. Like I said, still a little sick, but overall I feel pretty good. Also want to give an update on my mom. She's doing really well. This is the best I've seen her in months. She did have a UTI. They failed to tell us that she was also septic when she had the UTI the last time, when she was in the hospital at the same time as me. They also sent her out of there a little too quickly and then only had her on another 3 days of antibiotics after that. We requested, could we please get a test done to see whether the UTI is still there or not? And we got fought on that. And then finally they did it, and lo and behold, guess what? She still had a UTI. So they put her back on antibiotics, and we asked again, hey, after you're done with this round of antibiotics, let's check her again. She still had it, same strain. And I think now finally we'll get her to be checked once this latest round of antibiotics is done. But she actually seems like herself. She's back to eating. I will say pureed food is disgusting. Ugh. I feel a little bad for her, but hopefully we can eventually get her to the stage where she's not having these issues where she's choking and stuff like that. That she can go back to maybe semi-normal food, and it'll be more enjoyable for her. But she's completely different. Like so. Thank you for your prayers for both myself, and for my mom, of course. And it's just, I don't know. Sometimes you just sort of wonder about medical field. Sometimes it's like, this is a simple test. She's had a history of these. Why are we not doing this? Why isn't that the first thought that says, hey, we need to do this? But, I digress. I'm thankful that she's doing well. She's happy. I got her a Kindle Fire, and I think it allows her to have a little bit of normalcy. She's able to look at the sport. She still can't. She's having trouble because of dementia and stuff like that. Just in general, like me, she's technologically not savvy. So hopefully, as her mind starts to clear a little bit more, I can start showing her how to figure this thing out a little bit. And maybe that's not going to happen, but as long as she's able to listen, there's a lady, a Christian lady. Her name's Joni Erickson Tata, and she does this show. I don't know, it's called Bringing Hope, but it's something Hope. And she had been in an accident when she was a teenager, I believe, 17, 18, 19 maybe, and jumped into a pool, broke her neck. And she's married to this really nice guy named Ken Tata, and she does this podcast, the Song with Hope, and but they have it on Amazon Prime, and she loves listening to her. Like, she's one of those people that has a voice that just instantly soothes you, and she's such a sweet lady, beautiful voice, beautiful singing voice. But my mom absolutely adores her, and she's able to listen to her whenever she wants to. Just, I'm sure it drives the lady in the bed next to her a little nuts, but she loves to listen to that. She loves to listen to George Beverly Shea, Billy Graham Ministries. They had the guy that sang for him for the longest time. His name was George Beverly Shea. She loves the old hymns. So I have all of that on that system, the Amazon Prime, and she can listen to George Beverly Shea to her heart's content. And it gives her a little bit of normalcy. It gives her a little bit of control over her life, because when you're in a place like that, I think in a way you sort of can lose a little bit of your sense of self. And now that she has that, it brings a little bit of home to her. So I'm very thankful that we were able to do that for her. And she's really, really enjoying that. So I'm sure the lady next to her is not. Oh well. But it brings her hope and makes her happy. So She can check out sports. Eventually, I'll get her. I have all my streaming apps, so she can check out some of the really neat movies that she enjoys. I'll probably do. There's a thing on PBS. They had I don't know if you guys remember this from. I guess it'd be the '80s. The Anna Green Gables series by L.W. Montgomery. They had Anna Green Gables, Anne of Avonlea, and then I forget what the last one's. Anne, the Continuing Story, I believe is what it was called. It had Megan Follows, who I had the hots for when I was a young lad. She played Anne, and it's such a great series. I absolutely adore that series, but my mom loves that series. So they have something called gazebo.com or something like that. I guess it's the company that made that back in the 80s. And I can get that as a streaming service, and I can actually pay for the Anna Green Gables and then have that. That is something that she can tune in and watch and really enjoy. And there's a number of other different series I know that she used to love to watch. The Waltons. She liked what was the name of the? I'm trying to think of what it was, but it was this lady that was a school teacher that went into this. I don't know if it was Appalachia or whatever. And you had, of course, the hot Scottish doctor, and then you had the preacher guy, and she was sort of torn between them. But that was a series that she really enjoyed that they had back in the 90s and stuff like that. But that's all stuff that you can get access to and let her watch and enjoy. So, but she's doing well, so thank you guys for your prayers and all that. So let's go on to part two. Part two is short-term plans. I'm hoping to be able, because we're getting that skin graft, and depending on how quickly the foot finishes up healing, and I can actually go over to a diabetic shoe, because then we'll get the more aggressive diabetic shoes put together, get those so I can wear those, and then go from there. I'm hoping by February I'll be able to start doing maybe some shorts and things of that nature, and then start on the Visit Lebanon Valley for live filming. And then I'll probably just going to go around, revisit some places, and do some stuff like that just to get out, acclimate myself. Plus, I also want to go out and I want to get this bad boy started and then start doing my editing on the laptop. I got to get my channel remonetized. Sorry for the close-up. A couple other things that I've been sort of putting off that I need to get going on. And just mainly because of feeling so bad and just not having the energy to do anything. And I'm finally getting back to where my mind is starting to function normally and all that kind of stuff. So I feel like I'm bright-eyed and cheery and bushy-tailed and ready to go out and conquer the YouTube filming world. But we're going to do it slowly. I don't think we're going to be getting out to be doing regular live filming probably till April or May. I think May is probably the best idea just because, especially if I do have these other surgeries on the right foot, which I think at least one is coming. I'm hoping the first one winds out working. That's going to hold me back a little bit, and then it's just trying to acclimate myself to what I'm going to be doing job-wise. And then go from there. Because if I'm able to handle to a degree what I'm doing right now, I wouldn't mind doing that, but I don't know if it's going to be feasible or even realistic. Just because working on hard surfaces is probably not the best idea for me. Well, I know it's not the best idea for me, but like it's the determination of how many hours I can actually handle. Mainly because of the left foot, because there's so little bone structure left. It's the same thing like any hikes or things of that nature that I try to do. They're going to be relatively short. Probably less than 2 miles is probably going to be the most I'm going to be able to handle at this stage. Just because, and depending on what happens with the right foot, if we do ultimately go transmetatarsal, that's probably going to be around April. I don't know what my walking's going to be like at that stage. I mean, I know I'm going to be able to walk, no problem. It's just going to be not the prettiest thing in the world. Because I will no longer have that forward momentum type thing where I have the toes to sort of stop me and to press off of. So I don't know what that looks like. But, when we get there, we face it and go from there. Just like any of the other challenges that have happened so far with this whole thing, we'll beat it and we'll move forward, and that's just how it's going to work. But it's just a matter of right now not knowing exactly what that's going to all entail. But I think that's what short term is going to happen there. Short term, the other thing I'm going to start working on this weekend is I am going to start getting some of these. There's going to be a lot of these audio type videos with pictures, and you get to see my ugly mug as well. But I think the first one, I'm going to do a Heroines of Hometown History. The name eludes me off the top of my head, but it's basically the female version of Paul Revere, except she rode even further, and like I think her ride was even more challenging, and it was really a phenomenal story. And it's not somebody, it's another one of these stories, tales of hometown history. This one's going to be Heroines of Hometown History, that it gets lost to history, which is a shame. So we're going to rectify that. We're going to bring her story to light, and that's going to be one of the first ones that we do. I want to start with good old, I think it's Arkansas. John, I'm doing Arkansas. Uh, so we're going to be doing that for the Hometown History's Greatest Inventions. So I believe that's the next one that's going to be up there. There's a couple tales of hometown history. I have got a ton of haunted history that I want to start doing. I want to start getting the shorts done, catch up what we've already done, and then also do some of these other ones like churches and things of that nature. I'm probably going to go revisit St. Luke's, and do some on the stained glass, do some on the architecture, interior and exterior, and then maybe go into the history a little bit more of the church. Um, but these are going to be some of the things, and then I got a couple of these videos yet that I keep on talking. Excuse me. I keep on talking about that. I already have a lot of the stuff filmed. It's just a matter of revisiting that. The Shirksville one and the Lost Churches of the Swatter, I am going to refilm those. And then I'm going to go back and refilm once the snow is bye-byes. I am going to refilm. We're going to go back into that series, Understanding the French and Indian War. We're going to restart the villages of Cornwall. And this is short, long term, but those are series that we've been doing that we're going to start reopening up. We're going to reopen up the Tales of Hometown History, Heroines of Hometown History, Hometown History's Greatest Inventions. There's a couple other series as well, sort of some more of these family cemeteries, sort of looking at more of these families' individual histories and things of that nature. And then thanks to, I believe it was, is it Pat? I'm sorry if I not get it, but you had sent me a ton of stuff for Mount Lebanon. Obviously, it's going to have to wait till once there's not snow on the ground so we can actually visit these cemeteries. But they had been so generous with their time of sending me all this stuff that is just amazing information that I can use for this short series and a longer series as well, and talking about some of these really cool individuals. So that's going to be sort of short term what we're looking at. Long term, part three. Part three is, we've talked about last year we wanted to do a YouTube meet and greet. A lot of that's going to be contingent upon the surgeries being over and my health being where I can actually handle an event like that. I'm hoping by June, once Millersburg Ferry is open, I'm going to get together with them and we're going to try to have that as our first event. Our second event, I would like to work together with the Myerstown Isaac Meyer Homestead. I'd like to work together with the Schaeferstown Historic Schaeferstown LLC, along with potentially Heidelberg Hall. See if we can get the Colma Memorial Chapel open for you guys so you guys can visit there. And maybe a couple of other local chapter churches and stuff like that we could get them open as well. So you can visit these historic churches and talk about the history of them. I'd like to have that as be the second event. And we're going to go with 2 for right now for this coming year, just because that's what we're going to be capable of doing. The other thing I would like, I'm hoping the Meyer Homestead will start doing those. I think every 2 months we're going to try to do a different type of walking tour. It's going to be settled on a different period of time. We're going to have, I'm going to be dressed up as an individual from that time period from one of the main families. For instance, horse trading was a huge thing. They had these horse auctions there in Myerstown were huge in the early 1800s. So one of those periods of times, if I do like an 1810 to 1825, 1830, I'm going to be a horse trader. And I'm going to be one of the families that was known for the horse trader, and I'm going to try to speak in the dialect, the dress in that era clothing, and we're going to talk about the town of Myerstown from that time period. So we'll visit buildings and talk about stories from that era time. I'll also have a driving tour that is made up so people can have that and they can go and drive around and see some of the other really neat places that we're not going to try to walk to, because I'm going to try to keep it as like an hour walk, uh, just because that's what I can handle. And I don't want to have it be too long of a walk either, that it's too much for somebody that's older and they can't go on the walk. Just that kind of thing. It's gonna A lot of it will be Main Street, and go from there. But I'm hoping by the middle of the year, by June, we're able to start it and then do like June, August. Uh, it would be October and then December. December will be the winter Christmas, Victorian Christmas walking tour. October would be the haunted tour, and then we'll figure something else in there. So, but that's roughly what we'll do. June will be maybe the 1810s, and then maybe the one in August would wind up being the trolley days type one. So we probably aren't going to be able to have that set up quite yet at where I'd like it to be, because I think one of the problems that we have sometimes, we have so many small of these really small extraordinary organizations, historical associations in the area, and they do such phenomenal work, but because they're so small, a lot of people aren't aware of what's right outside their back door. So they either struggle with financial aid, or a lot of them it's more volunteers. So the idea is to get a bunch of these different organizations to work together in tandem for something like trolley days, to wind out being able to have people made aware of these different organizations, the history that's right outside in a town right next door maybe, and build it up over a couple years to the point where maybe some of these different towns can have them. This day is specifically Myerstown, Schaeferstown. This day for trolley days is specifically Lebanon. This day is specifically Hershey. And then just have it down through there. And you can actually make it an event that you, in essence, a lot of vendors are sort of like, people are going to be there like an hour and then they're going to be gone. So is it worth their time? Uh, because they're trying to make people aware of history, but they're also trying to financially make it doing what they love as well. So you have to make it worth it as an organization for them to see the value in coming to your event, that there's going to be enough people there, that there's going to be enough interest, and so on and so on. So if you start it out, and even if you have it where you have, Isaac Meyer Homestead, Historic Schaeferstown LLC, Lebanon County Historical Society, Lebanon Preservation Trust, uh, Friends of Old Annville. I'm pretty sure Palmyra has some kind of historical society. I'm not sure what they're called, or if they do have one. I know Derry Township has a historical society. If you can get all of them to work together in tandem, one, everybody is aware of all these different organizations. Plus, you're interested in seeing a history come alive of an era of time that people just don't see, and it's a living history. So, and I'd like to see something, potentially a trolley days type thing would then happen in Mannheim along that line, because Mannheim Historical Society has a trolley that they refurbished and they actually physically run at the rail station there that is a headquarters for them. It's extraordinary, and they could certainly, you could have trolley days along that line where it used to go through Lidditz. I think it goes to Akron and maybe down to Columbia, Marietta, or something like that. But it's a cool line. So once again, you could have, several, 5 or 6 towns working together on a weekend or whatever it is, and it gives two families, instead of having, oh, here's a small event here, do we really want to go to it? Is there enough? Well, we can go to Myerstown, and then we can go over to Schaeferstown, and we can fill our day. And then say there's several historical places open at the same time. Well, you can take your family to see the Coleman Memorial Chapel down in Brickerville. You can, take them to see several of these historic churches that have been around since the American Revolution. And maybe even have like a driving tour with that coincides, that here are some of the other really cool places in the area. Go visit. Maybe get some of the Pennsylvania historic marker tour of that area, and then the places that coincide with those markers. It helps history come alive. So it's just a matter of putting in the time and the effort. So that's part of the plan with things like that. How involved we're going to get, I think it's more going to be planning for the future with an event that big. I don't see that happening this year because that's a lot to plan for. I think we want to try to get this walking tour started. That's sort of the stepping stone. Once you get that walking tour going along with when Isaac Meyer Homestead is open, it's going to then avail you other opportunities. It's making more people aware. It's really getting the social media extravaganza going, and that's part of the work with Visit Lebanon Valley, is making people aware of everything. A lot of people are aware of Cornwall Iron Furnace. A lot of people are aware of the Bordner Cabin in Swatara State Park. A lot of people are aware of some of the bigger places that everybody knows about, but they don't realize how many of these other neat places exist that take your family out, talk about the history, make people passionate about, and not just come and visit, support these organizations, whether it's via your money or you actually putting your physical time into that and helping with trying to get more events going, because these groups are trying. They are certainly really putting an effort in. It's just a lot of them, it's a lack of volunteers, that type of stuff. So hopefully this year, as my health starts to improve, I'm able to really sort of hit this head on with them and try to get this moving forward. Is the purpose of this channel. And I'm really, really thankful that we're getting to that stage now where I'm going to be able to be involved and really throwing these things out there and making this happen. Because I think it's all possible. And a lot of this too, the nice thing, so much out there, especially with inflation and, regardless of what's going on, so much is so expensive, and it's almost like you're being priced out of things as a family. These are things that are extraordinarily interesting, are extraordinary memories that you can make with your family, and it's cheap, if not free. So why not? And I'm excited about the opportunities with these different things. The other big one, which I have to get back together with Mannheim Historical Society, is we'd like to have the third event that we would do, that'd be a YouTuber meet and greet event, would be to get all these organizations together, and then with my Visit Lebanon Valley, I will talk to them and try to get them involved and see if there's some way we can set up a venue and an event that makes sense, that we try to get done, which timing is going to be a hard one for me this year, but at least if I can be involved with trying to get something going, is to have all these historical societies come together in one place as an event, so they can make people aware of their summer, their fall, and their winter, like their coming year events, and just make people aware of all these really cool organizations that are there. Have a bunch of history stuff, have a bunch of vendors from different time periods, and just have it be a really, really neat event that people can come to and just see what's all available there. Because it's so important to make people, the awareness is, I think, the biggest thing sometimes, because A lot of times, and I'm very much into history, but a lot of these organizations I'm only finding out about. And that's why I try to talk about them so much, because what they do is really phenomenal. And is, you know, your your area, your local area is really, really fortunate and blessed to have these people that are so passionate about history and doing what they're doing and preserving that. And a lot of these different places are being preserved for people to enjoy future generations and to be enjoyed now as well. But that's some of the plans there. Video wise, long term this year, the plan is at some point, maybe hopefully by June, to be back to where I'm getting, a big long form video out every single day, and then two or three shorts that'll be out, getting all that kind of stuff done. But I don't think that's going to happen before June at the earliest, just because it's a lot. It's a lot of planning. But I mean, it sounds like a lot more than it actually is. But it's anytime you're planning with organizations, there's a lot of people involved. It's about being able to meet and make schedules work and those types of things. I think they're all possible though. But we'll see. Big plans for this year. Big plans for the future, and I think we're definitely, knock on my knee. I'm hoping we're heading in the right direction. Hopefully, we finally have a fix for this problem that I can move forward. And it's been a journey. It certainly has. You guys have been there on it with me, and but we're heading in the right direction. And maybe once I'm back to filming normal and I get that film camera up and running, I do want to take the channel in probably a little bit more of a scripted way. I mean, I still want to have this raw sort of this is who it is, because I think that's what helps make the channel popular. But I think at times it can also withhold and hold it back to a degree. I'd like to have certain series are going to be a little bit more scripted, especially the stuff I do for Visit Lebanon Valley is all going to be scripted. It's going to be, I'm going to know what I'm going to talk about ahead of time, and I'm going to have it down to a T, just because I want to present it in a much more professional fashion, because that's the purpose. The idea is to bring people here for tourism in the Lebanon Valley. And then also, the one thing I really want to do is at some point I'll start with the Milton Hershey three-part series. I'd like to do that documentary style. I've said this a number of times. I love Ken Burns. So that would be something I would like to, maybe this year towards fall, be able to start approaching that, and finally get that series going, and get, at some point I would like to get that series on the Coleman's triumph and tragedy, because they're such an extraordinary family, and I think that would make for something really, really quite cool. And hopefully at some point we can approach that and go from there. But those are the long term plans going into this year. I'm hoping quite a bit of this will happen, and I got to start communicating with a bunch of different people and trying to get things set up as I'm physically capable of doing them again. I'd like to get together, take you guys back to St. Luke's Episcopal Church there in Lebanon on 6th and Chestnut. I got to get back together with Stephen Doster, because he had tried to arrange for me to go over. I took you to Mount Hope Episcopal Church there. That's a really pretty church. He is arranging at some point to be able to get us in there physically to see that. That was built by the Grubb family. They were the first Iron Dynasty there in Lebanon, Lancaster County, because they were sort of semi before it became Lebanon County. It was Lancaster County at that time. But they were Peter Grubb is the guy that founded Cornwall. And eventually Robert Coleman wound up buying him out, buying the family out, and then it became the Coleman Iron Dynasty. And the Grubbs were still an Iron Dynasty, but they were more a little south. They did buy like Manada Gap iron furnace, which we visited. But Yeah, I mean they're a really historic family. That's another family I'd like to do something on. They're a lot less well known than the Colemans, and the Colemans beyond this area are really not very well known. So that's certainly something I think it'd be a great series, and then do stuff on like the Muhlenbergs. I'd like to do a documentary series on the founders and just call it the founders. So it'd be founders of towns, founders of, for instance, we talked about is it John Casper Stover? I'm trying to think. I think it's John Casper Stover, but he's the guy who's considered one of the founding fathers, along with the patriarch, or patriarch of the Muhlenberg family, were considered the fathers of the American Lutheran Church. John Philip Boehm, I believe, is the founder, considered to be the father of American Reformed Church, which is now the United Church of Christ. So I'd like to go and hit on a bunch of the religious founding fathers of these towns, organizations, things of that nature. And I think that would make for a very cool series as well at some point. We're a ways away, probably a couple years away from that, but that's something I'd like to do at some point as well. But I'm excited. I'm very excited about the channel. I'm very excited about what we have in store for the future and so on and so forth. This is me yapping for quite a while, so I do apologize for the length of the video, but there was a lot to cover. And I wanted to do it all in one video, just torment you guys and take 45 minutes of your time away from you that you'll never get back if you last through the whole video. But as always, I want to say thank you guys for sticking with us, sticking with me, being so supportive. I got to do another mail time. I have a couple of the cards out in Chuck, and I want to say thank you to those individuals because I have not gotten a chance to do that yet. I think there's another 2 or 3 cards, but anyways, I want to say thank you as always for continuing on this adventure with me. Oh, and the other thing I wanted to say, I almost forgot about this. The plan, I had talked about taking new video camera out and actually getting that out there, doing that. Because I still have one video that's stored on there. I think it went reasonably well as a test one. We also here, I'm hoping before June, my friends Tom and Bob, we're going to get the drone out. And we're going to get that flying, get acclimated to that, and then go from there. See what training all needs to be done, the registering, those types of things. And then the other thing I'm going to look at, I'm going to see whether the thing is in place yet. They had a restriction on commercial filming at places like Gettysburg, like national parks. You have to pay a certain fee so you don't get in trouble for filming there, because I would like to go back and I'd like to film at Gettysburg quite a bit on the national battlefield. And Cliff and I had filmed there right before that went into place. I'm not sure whether that still is in place because they were talking about doing away with it because it is ridiculous. It's just a money grab. And the law was not meant for what's going on today with YouTube filming. YouTube filming, you're not getting in the way of other people because most people are going to be like me where they're going to be cognizant of there's other visitors here. You do your filming, you stay out of their way, you're not ignorant. Unfortunately, you do have some people that have been ignorant and they were using drones in places that are not supposed to, and that's sort of why it went into place, was to restrict bad behavior, filming behavior. But the original law was made for the reason you had to pay a permit fee was it would be people back in the 70s that were going out with huge film crews, which were truly getting in the way of people going for tourism that were filming in national parks. They were making their documentaries and things like that. That's why the law was put in place. So it's an abuse of that law, and like I said, it's a money grab because some of these places, I think they were like almost like $100, and it was insane. Some of them were for, it was very confusing too because some of them were for the entire year, some of them were a one-time permit, and they were charging ridiculous prices. So, an average YouTube channel like mine, you're not pulling in the money. I mean, I'm not pulling in anything at this stage, but, if I was monetized, it's not going to be much. And a lot of it has to do with I'm not filming regularly. But when I was filming regularly, I'm not going to be pulling in more than 100 or $200 in a month. So to put out $100 to film at a place once, I'm never going to see my money from that again, you know. And I do have to view this a YouTube channel as sort of a business, and what makes business sense. You know, I want to film, I want to do a lot of different things, but I also want to be smart. And the other thing I'll bring in as well, because I just thought this is why I need to make notes and be scripted, so I don't ramble. But I also, there's a number of new towns that we're going to be visiting. We are going to be going back up at some point to Schuylkill County again to hit a bunch of these really cool towns. But we also, I want to visit Middletown for the first time. I want to hit Robizonia. We had hit a couple of these different towns on that Christmas small town lights display video. So I'd like to go and hit a bunch of those towns because, you know, revisit Hershey. There's a whole slew of things up there, a couple other cemeteries I'd like to hit that we have not hit yet that I just became aware of. A number of things like that, and then hit a number of these different towns and check some of this stuff out. But yeah, we've got a lot of really great stuff coming up. So once again, I want to say thank you as always for coming along, for continuing to support the channel, and as always, we'll see you all about town.